everybody. Bradley Flowers here with episode 1 of Entreprescrewups, where we bring on successful business people and we talk about that the success is in the failure and what you learn from it. We talk about everybody's biggest business mistakes. I'm on here. I'm so happy today to have episode 1 with Scott Tindle with Think Bigger, Gulf Coast Ducks. And
the Ford Colonial Mobile and Sylvia's and a couple other projects we're always working on.
Scott, tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself and what you guys do at Think Bigger and Gulf Coast Ducks.
One of the things that we really focus on is trading people's time for fun. So we like to say we're in the business of business. And so that could mean that we want to get as much vertical integration as we can through all of our different businesses. So we have Gulf Coast Ducks, which is an amphibious tour. It goes on land and water. Through that, we were able to develop a new attraction at what used to be Fort Condy here in Mobile. Now we call it the Ford Colonial Mobile. It's our home base. We also rolled out an automotive maintenance shop. We have mechanics who are on staff that have to work for the Ducks.
Okay.
So to get a little vertical integration, we can do work on other people's businesses as well. And then finally, we're opening a restaurant in the Fort called Sylvia's. It's going to be biscuits and po' boys. And it's that same idea of combining and packaging your businesses together.
It's interesting. I think you guys have a lot of things that from the outside looking in appear that it's a lot of different things that have nothing to do with each other, but really they're all intertwined.
They are. One of the things that we try and do is find anywhere that we're spending money and spend it on ourselves or create a new business that can provide those services for us. That way it's like a giant funnel. We want to pass the money around from one of our entities to the other and let them be magnets to pull in money from other places as well.
Right. And that's one thing that I think that Grant Cardone says a lot, who's a mentor of mine, is your businesses need to be parallel to each other. They need to sort of align with each other. That way you can sort of work on more than one at any given time, and you're not being pulled.
Yeah, it works really well for us. We're able to use our admin team across all 4 of the platforms. So we just got through with a team meeting, and we had our admin team sit down at a table, and we could go 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10, and 40 minutes. In less than an hour, we had covered all of our different businesses across all of our different platforms.
And most people with that many businesses, it would take all day.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. So we're going to get right into it. What we do here is we get you to tell us about your biggest business failure, how it happened, and what you learned from it.
Okay, great.
And how that sort of made you what you are today. So if you want to get right into it,
sure.
Tell us about your biggest business failure.
So we have an expression we use across our businesses, and it says the best way to learn is by screwing up, and we do a lot of learning. So really, failure is critical to business success because you really don't know how to push yourself. You don't know if you're even going far enough unless you've failed at least a couple of times. I've got a number of failures, not what I would call failures, but learning experiences in my background. But I think the one that people know the most about and the one they're most interested about was we had a company called TieTry. It was like Netflix for neckties. And so it was 2012. It was right at the beginning of the sharing economy. Rent the Runway had come out for women, and they were booming. And so a friend from law school and I started a business called TieTry. And we were renting neckties to guys all across the country. And we had some really good success early on. We launched in January. By March, we were on the Today Show. By April and May, we were doing national interviews on CNBC and Fox Business. And through that, we're able to gain a lot of momentum. And we went through the Shark Tank application process. And in June, they tell us that we're going to get to come out and film the episode, which to us was a really big deal. There was about 100,000 businesses that applied that year. And we got to L.A. and start shooting, spending our week out there. And basically they tell us, well, we're glad you're here, but there's really only about a 20% chance this business will actually make an episode. So you immediately start with some anxiety. If I really got to perform well on the show,
right,
in order to make TV.
Probably sort of makes you no holds bar, let's not hold anything back, let's swing for the fences kind of attitude.
I certainly think, at the end of the day, you got to remember they're creating a TV show about business. It's not a business about TV shows.
Right.
And so they want that entertainment. They want to see who's going to be good on camera, who's going to give a good presentation, and is the product something that's relatable that people will find interesting. We met some folks out there that probably have products that were much better than ours, but they just didn't feel TV ready.
Right.
So, we're out there. We spend a week out there. They, let us know we're about to record, and you step into the Shark Tank, and it's really weird. It's a lot like what you see on TV, but not entirely. You have to stand there for 30 seconds before you're even allowed to speak, and the sharks are looking at you, and you're looking at them, and really that's where they get a lot of their edits.
Yeah.
That show is so chopped up.
It seems I've seen a couple of YouTube clips, and it seems like the pitches are a lot longer than what they allude to on TV.
Yeah, so we were in there about an hour, and they edited it down to that 8 to 10 minutes that you see.
And actually, I think it was you that I'd heard say that.
Yeah. So, I tell people, we said enough things in that hour to make us look smart. We said enough things in that hour to make us look dumb. It was really up to the producers and the editors how they wanted this thing to shake out.
Right.
So, we're going through the pitch, and we feel really good about it. We asked for $100,000 for 25%, which now, compared to the ask, is not a very big number. But back in that season, in 2012, it was a little aggressive for what the Sharks did, but we felt confident.
That was sort of right at the beginning of this big venture capitalist tech push where there's all this free money.
Well, in 2012, we take it for granted. Right now, we're in 2018. I'm buying stuff on the internet. Even back in 2012, the sharing economy, Uber, Airbnb, these kind of businesses were not the billion-dollar unicorns they are now. They were just in their infancy phases. And so we feel really good about our pitch and our valuation, and we go through the process. And, the first one, Robert Hertzvek, he asked how many subscribers we have, and I told him 90. He said, wow, 90,000, that's impressive. I said, no, sir, we have 90. And he said, well, are they all paying? I said, yeah, they are. And then, and so some of these stories I'm going to tell may not have been in the episode because I can't always remember which ones actually made
That's the real stuff. Hey, this is cutting edge.
That's right.
Never before seen footage.
That's right. So he says, well, I just think you're here too early. And I said, yes, sir. Well, you just tell me what day to come back and I'll be back. I'm here today because this is what day you told me to be here. So he goes out, and then the next guy out is Damon, and he says, guys, I just got to tell you, you don't have a passion for fashion. I didn't hear one time about this type of knot or that type of knot. And I said, Damon, I'll be honest with you, these guys are renting ties. Like if they had a passion for fashion, they'd be worried about getting them from the department store the very first day they were out. These are just guys that don't want to look foolish every day. And actually, a lot of our subscribers were women who wanted to have ties for the guys in their life. And,
And it was really... My perception of it, and forgive me if this is wrong, is was more of a technology company.
Yeah, that's right.
And it just so happened to sell ties. Like with myself, I tell people I'm just a marketer that happens to sell insurance.
Yep.
It kind of seems. Idea. Yeah, exactly.
Right. We were, a technology business who could queue things up and be a supply chain for you, deliver and return items efficiently. Ties happen to be where we started. And
I listened to a podcast with the person that started Rent the Runway, How I Built This with Guy Raz, a great podcast, and she said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It was just, she had a passion for fashion, but it was a technology company.
Yeah, we just kind of found a niche.
Yeah.
And saw it as an opportunity to jump in. And but you're right, it was all technology.
And Damon was probably was he the one you wanted?
He was the one that we thought could help us the fastest. Damon and Mark were the because Mark's technology, and Robert too, but really Damon and Mark, especially with them, sitting next to each other and trying to leverage that. And so Damon goes out. Then, Barbara Corcoran, they don't show this, but she probably spent 10 minutes just laying into us about how dare we think that we could start this business, and do I have a family, and who's going to provide for my family when we're starving to death on the street corner? I think she was doing it all for TV, honestly. She was so over the top. And they actually didn't show any of that, which I thought for sure that, if she's going to be that over the top, that'd be
That's weird because usually she's the nice one.
Yeah.
And I wonder if she does that more often or if she was just trying something.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. Maybe she knew she was going to be out and she just wanted to make a show of it.
That's hilarious.
So then Kevin and Mark are still in. Kevin O'Leary tells us he's going to give us 50% of what we're asking for, but he doesn't tell us what percentage equity. But at that point, we were less than 6 months old when we recorded it. I mean, we'd have given up a lot more equity than probably a lot of people would.
Right.
And so that didn't bother me at all. So he says, you got to get another shark on board. Mark's the only one left. So we spent about the last 30 minutes negotiating with Mark, trying to get Mark on board, knowing that we had half an offer. And here comes the Entreprescrewup. What is it? We knew all of our numbers. We knew everything except our customer acquisition cost was a projection. But that's all it could be because we'd only been around 6 months. And our customer acquisition cost the first 6 months was very little because we had ridden this wave of free press.
And that customer acquisition cost is huge to an investor.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about how much do we have to spend to add a new customer, and what is your churn rate? So we knew that we weren't going to keep every subscriber every month. So if you're going to lose subscribers, you got to go out and get new ones. Now the reason we love subscription-based businesses, and it's a lot like what you do, is every month you can go after new clients as long as you're servicing your current clients and doing a great job for them. It's not like selling retail, where every month you got to go sell a whole new amount of retail, the exact same amount you sold the month before.
Right.
So we really like that model, and Mark did too. But, I couldn't give him a customer acquisition cost because we had ridden this wave of free publicity from the Today Show and Fox News and MSNBC. And my answer was, here's what we think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I almost got him past that point until he said, okay, boys, let's say that you go out and, you sell X number of subscriptions and you're a $20 million business. What happens
He
then?
wanted you to figure it up on the spot.
No, it was even bigger than that. I said, well, we're going to be really excited. Basically he was trying to say that we would think we made it if we created a $20 million business. And he said, I don't want to invest in a $20 million business. I want to invest in a $200 million business. So I need you to think bigger and tell me how you're going to get to that. And that's where the name for our company came from.
That's awesome.
I've had 2 opportunities to interact with billionaires as far as I know. It was there on Shark Tank where they told us to think bigger. And then we had a chance to meet with Jim Pattison, who's the president of Ripley's.
Yeah.
And
he took a duck tour, right?
He did take a duck tour, and he actually just purchased the ducks in Branson, Missouri. So now he's in the duck business.
Wow.
I like to think that we did such a good job that he thought if these guys can do it in Mobile, certainly we can do it too. So that's pretty interesting.
There's no doubt in my mind that's what he thought. I've taken probably more duck tours than anybody, other than you guys.
Yeah, so we were meeting with Jim, and he said, what's your vision on what you want to do? We said, we really think we can transform tourism in Mobile. He's like, oh, that's cute. That's because you're from Mobile, right? We're like, well, yeah. He said, well, just think bigger. He said, we really think that we can transform tourism along the Gulf Coast. And we can take New Orleans to Destin, turn it into a destination like the south of France, and people from all over the world would come there. He said, well, that's better. That's thinking bigger.
Yeah.
He's like, but why? Because you're from the Gulf Coast? I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of what I know. And he said, I have 91 attractions in 11 countries. He said, why can't you have 100 attractions in 12 countries? I said, okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Think bigger. The whole concept behind this is
two billionaires.
Both
told you
panel. Yeah. One time in the panel, think bigger. Jim Pattison, think bigger.
Yeah.
And so that has become our concept and our mantra, because I think what we do is we limit ourselves and we set goals. And then when we reach those goals, we kind of stop.
Right. Or you either get depressed because the goal didn't provide to you what you thought it was going to provide to you.
Yeah. And talking about depression, this entrepreneurial roller coaster is rife for that. There's just people that we have either unrealistic expectations of ourselves, or the world puts unrealistic expectations on us. And it's not fair. But it's something we have to deal with. It doesn't matter what is fair or not.
Right.
But this concept of thinking bigger and growing and stretching, and we try and pour that through our team so that everybody on the team feels the same way. If you ask anybody on our team, what is our vision? What I hope they say and what they normally say is, we're trying to build $1 billion company so we can give it all away. People say that's crazy. Yeah, but look at what Tillman Fertitta can do in Houston and build an entire children's hospital. Yeah. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation can basically eradicate malaria in Africa through the money they're able to give away. And so if you have everybody on your team that believes in that vision, they don't think, I'm giving a duck tour, or I run the cash register at the fort,
You're
or
building
I'm making
something.
po' boys. Yeah, you're building this giant apparatus that hopefully will change your community and then change the world. But it's not going to happen if we don't show up for work on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. It's this, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this impatient patience.
Right.
That's how we are. We work as hard as we can every single day, but the goal is 50 years away.
Yeah, macro patience, micro speed.
Yeah.
Is what he says.
Yeah.
And I think, I see that a lot in a lot of different, through mobile young entrepreneurs and a lot of the local, local organizations here. I see that a lot where people just have this impatience about them, and I'm guilty of it as well. Sure. It's like, I want it now. What you don't realize is it's easy for you to say, I want to be a millionaire, I want to make $1 million, I want to be a billionaire. But when you actually do the math of, well, crap, what does that take?
Yeah.
Then it kind of puts it into perspective. But one way I like to talk about as far as thinking bigger and bigger goals is, if you set this 20x goal and you come up short and you hit half of it, you're still 10x. Exactly. Right. And that's sort of, what I do in my business is I always set goals that are extremely high and then hold my people accountable to that. But then we also quantify that by taking the actions necessary in which it takes to get there.
Right.
And if you do those things and you come up short, you're still way ahead of where you need to be. So talk a little bit about, if you want to elaborate a little bit on the mess up, the screw up, and then what you guys learned from that and how you use that in your business today.
I think the best way to look at that screw up is we left the room knowing we didn't get a deal. So Cuban said he was out. Kevin O'Leary says, all right, you couldn't get a second shark on board, you're dead to me. All right, so you leave, you go to the hotel. You're sitting at the hotel with everybody else who's just filmed, and they all didn't get a deal also. The people who got deals, I guess they didn't come back to the hotel. They went and celebrated or something.
And now, is that do you have an endorphin high because you've just been on national TV, or is it like a down in the dumps sucks kind of feeling? Because I could see me doing either.
Well, I try and spend 100% of my time on things I can control and 0% of time on things I can't control. So when I walked out of the room, I could no longer control the outcome.
Right.
So I'm not going to worry. I can't worry about what just happened. And I can't control whether or not this is going to make an episode.
Right.
But all I can do is try and put myself in a position to be successful if it does. And they only give you about 10 days. So the show didn't air until November, and 10 days before the show would air, they called us and said, all right, you better get your website ready to handle the volume. You know, you're going to air on November 12th.
Because they kind of, they refer to, what do they refer to businesses that don't get a deal but they're still succcessful? Don't they have a word for that?
They probably do. I'm not sure, yeah.
But I'm sure
7 million people saw our episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can't buy that kind of marketing. Not when you're a startup.
Right.
But I think the thing that I learned from it is, you know, we were able to go through that process and then spend 5 months not knowing whether or not this was ever going to make TV, and still trying to grind every day to build the unknown. Yeah. And so not worrying about that every day was just as important as if we were even going to get on the show, because that show was not going to determine if we were going to be successful unless we let it. So then we get on the show. It airs November 12th. And we have this huge rush through Christmas. And then we were able to exit in May of 13. So about 5 months later, we exit. And we go startup to exit in about 18 months. And, you know, you never know whether or not a deal would have been better or not. I don't know. Maybe I would have still been stuck in that company and I wouldn't have been happy, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do the things I do now. Only because we sold the company did it free my time up to then move into the outdoor amusement and entertainment business, which is almost all of what I do now. Mm-hmm. Once I was able to do that and start studying at the Disney Institute and studying the way they do things and their effort-based processes and their everything we do is built around guest services. Right. That's it. I don't care what business you're in. One, you're in the business of sales. 2, you're in the business of guest service, because you either have clients that are other businesses or you're direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful that we didn't get a deal, because I really like what I do now.
Right.
And I know that if I would have got a deal, I would have been business partners with those guys, but I'd have been driven in a different direction, and maybe it'd have been better. I don't know, but I'm very happy with the way it turned out now.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. That's phenomenal. Yeah, I think everybody's, if you look at your biggest business mistake or the biggest mistakes you make in your life, and I think you always could say what if, but it always could be worse.
Right.
It always could be worse. And now answer me one question. I heard that by going on the show, you have to give up some equity automatically.
If you get a deal on the show, then the production company gets...
They take 2%, something like that. Okay, mm-hmm. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's episode 1 with Scott Tindle. I'm sure Scott would be able to answer any questions if you want to reach out to him.
Yeah, tag me in all my social channels.
We'll do that. And I want to say, man, before I let you go, I just absolutely freaking love Gulf Coast Ducks. I think you know that.
Yeah.
I think I'll
get you a frequent flyer card.
I've been on less than 10 tours, but I'm right there. I'm right there at 10.
Do you have a different tour guide each time?
I had Jonna was my first one. Mm-hmm. I love Jonna. She was awesome. She I've had Ashley.
Yeah.
And then, but yes, I've had a different tour guide every time.
That's one of the things we like is each tour guide has a different experience. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel stale. It doesn't feel like the same tour over and over.
But how cool! Other than Jonna, I don't know anyone, but I remember their names.
Yeah.
So
we say emotional connections drive brand loyalty. So if you can remember the name, if they can make you remember their name, mm-hmm. then you're going to have an emotional connection, and then hopefully we have established a good reputation with you.
Right. And it's, I think that, and I told Andy this a while back, I think that to me, Gulf Coast Ducks just epitomizes Mobile. It's everything that I love about Mobile. It's fun, it's educational, a little bit of party thrown in there, right. Funny. I mean, to me, it's just like if I'm going to take someone that's from out of town to Mobile, and we're going to do one thing. And I'm not telling you this because you're sitting here on my deal that
Yeah.
you know, it's a 100% ask for you to be here.
Right.
I mean, you're getting nothing out of this.
That's true.
You know, but if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be take them on Gulf Coast Ducks.
Well, I appreciate
and
that.
probably the Fort would be second. I
Yeah.
mean, so and kind of tie them
It
all
all goes
together.
in together.
And also, you guys did a phenomenal job with the Haunted Fort.
Thanks.
That was
Something new we tried.
Yeah.
You talk about trying new things, and you know, I'm not disappointed with how it turned out. You know, it doesn't always meet your projections, but you have to try new things. When you're going to fail fast.
Right.
Figure it out in a hurry.
Right.
And then, you know, either adapt it and do better next time,
Right.
or try something new.
cool. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
Yeah, it's
Appreciate
fun.
you being here. Guys, stay tuned for episode 2. Really appreciate everybody watching. Thanks. All right, let's redo that intro because I had everything planned out, and then when all that happened, I was just like,
No, you're
I've
fine.
got to start. I felt like I was doing a live video. All right. Just let me know when you're ready, and we'll go. All right, ready?
ready.
What's up, everybody? Bradley Flowers here with episode 1 of Entreprescrewups, where we bring professional and successful people on, and we talk about their biggest business failures and what they learn from them, because we learn more from our failures than we do our successes. I'm so excited to have my good friend Scott Tindle from Think Bigger, Gulf Coast Ducks, and the Fort of Colonial Mobile here to talk about his biggest business mistake. Scott, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.